Hello.
What's up, everybody? It's Erin.
And Nicole. This is Dude That's Fucked Up.
Welcome to the podcast, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Ooh-wee.
Ooh, little doggies. Giddy up. I don't.
You got cutie little bangs.
Yeah, she's banging again, y'all. She's banging.
Ooh, it's cute.
Thanks. I just had like a last minute, should I get bangs again? And then my hair's short, so I was like, I'll get bangs again because it's not like if I get sick of them, my hair's short, it'll grow pretty fast and like it's fine.
And it's like all like you could just like grow it into like a fringy fun thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Like it's like gonna grow out with the rest of your hair. It's very cute. I love it.
Oh my God, thank you. Oh, thank you. I haven't been loving it, but to be fair, I haven't been putting on makeup and I haven't washed it since I got it done. So like when I wake up, it just looks awful, like very old lady haircut, like just not fashionable, not cute. I'm in like a gross shirt. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I have been kind of depressed the last 2 days. Like I just showered and got myself together because all day I was just kind of blah. And that it feels better.
Yeah.
When I have like a face of makeup and I like put effort in.
Yeah. It's like kind of like beachy and like chic. I don't know.
Oh, thank you.
It's really fun. I love it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shag. You can't really tell with the headphones on, but it's like I wanted it more shaggy, less like round. So it's more like cute. Square. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you look great. I love it.
Thanks.
Fashion, love it.
Fashion, you're giving a summer moment. You're giving
I'm giving full sweat, full swamp ass. I can't wear sleeves because I'm just so hot.
Oh my God.
So yeah, and my hair, I threw it up in a, bun on my head because I can't even
get it off the
deal
neck.
with anything on my neck.
Yeah. What are you wearing, a dress or is it like overalls?
It's a dress. I'm wearing
cute.
A dress.
Cute. Yeah, very cute.
Yeah, because I cannot have anything tight around my privets these days. Nothing. Can't do it.
No, I'm wearing hard pants right now, and it's a hard pass for me, dog, because I think that's why my stomach's getting upset, because there's like a waistband pushing into it, and it's like, excuse me.
Ma'am,
could you not? I might have to unbutton them. We'll see.
Oh, I don't even know why you are buttoned. Do it now.
I know. Well, it's like stretching your limits. It's just kind of like for when I go into public, like I do need to be easing back in. So I could wear hard pants for the next hour probably. But if things get gassy, I'll unbutton them just so I'm not rooting and tooting on the air.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. I just I need a nice breeze flowing through everything right now.
Up in there. Yeah.
And my undercarriage,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I can't do a pants situation.
No,
we're going through a heat wave right now in California, so it's just like I thought we were like having a pretty mild summer.
We were till now.
Till this fucking bitch ass heat wave rolled through. It's like, no, it's still summer.
In summer, whatever that Josh Gad song is.
Oh,
from Frozen. It's
Frozen,
like,
yeah.
In summer. That's not right. It's like in summer.
He does like a Liza Minnelli kind of like voice or something. It's so funny. I love it.
Yeah, that's good.
Love it.
All right. Well, what's the biz? I guess if we have any.
Go to our website. It's DTFUpodcast.com. So many fun things on there. We have a cool Patreon that we are we have extra content on.
Yeah.
Like we do a bonus episode, a commentary episode.
Mm-hmm. Which is just another bonus episode.
Basically. It's where we're talking about a lot of pop culture though.
Yeah.
On the commentary episode.
Yeah.
Current events.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever like documentary
is hot.
Happening. Yeah, we're talking about it. Or like any kind of current event, like celeb gossip, whatever.
Yeah,
we'll do a commentary episode on it. And then we also do a Q&A. Mm-hmm. So that's very fun.
And that's live.
That's live.
If
you
you're a
can join
patron,
us.
you can join us live. We usually do it on a Friday evening. And you can just hang out with us and like put questions in the chat and we'll answer them, and
we're
just
chilling.
hanging out.
Yeah. And then we also have a Discord.
The Discord. That's the main event. I think.
Yeah, it's super fun. We're just like always in there and talking about whatever weird shit. I posted today. I posted the what is it called? I forget the account, but it's
Zillow
Gone Wild.
Yeah.
And it was the Yankee Candle CEO's house.
Who knew they were that loaded?
Estate. It is a ridiculous fucking place.
Fucking Yankee Candle. I want that Yankee Candle money. You know what I mean?
I know. But it's like it's like the Papa John's fucking mansion. You know, it's so
it's
tacky.
The Yankee Candle of mansions.
It is the Yankee Candle of mansions.
It's exactly what you think it would be when someone says, "Oh, they have Yankee Candle money." Tacky as fuck.
It's that nouveau riche, that new money, that but also very fun. Okay.
Oh, I would live there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I hate the decor. It's so ugly. And like there's always like a fucking medieval times theme like room in every like weird rich person's house. It's so weird. In every McMansion, there's always like a fucking like dining room or wine room that's like medieval theme. It's so bizarre.
Okay, maybe it's the Dungeons and Dragons room. Like maybe it's like maybe that's something that's going on in there. Because why else would you have like a medieval themed room? There's no reason for it unless it's maybe like a Dungeons and Dragons room.
I guess. I don't know.
But what it's Yankee Candle doing playing Dungeons and Dragons? That seemed they seem very like she was not a Christian.
So so chuggy. Yeah.
So chuggy. So they just feel like no, they're not going to do anything that's like magic or it's too close to the devil. You know what I mean?
True. Fair enough. Yeah. I don't know. I just have noticed that as like a trend of like as
the dungeon
as part of the tacky chuggy McMansion vibe. There's always some sort of like medieval times theme. But they did have a full-blown arcade, a bowling alley, like an indoor pool situation that was crazy. Like it looked like fucking what's that movie with Jim Carrey where he like lives in the little world? What is that called?
Where he's like on a TV show, Truman Show?
Truman Show. Yeah, it was like a Truman Show indoor pool because it had like or like a Caesar's Palace like fake sky or like Bellagio,
indoor mall.
Indoor mall. Yeah.
It's like, am I outside in Paris? It's like, no, you're at the Paris.
Yeah.
And you're
in
inside.
Las Vegas.
Yeah. And that's why there's a lot of screaming drunk people wearing sports jerseys.
I love that though. Like, okay, everything else is tacky and that is also like inherently tacky, but like I want a fucking year-round lazy river if I'm a rich person.
Indoors.
Like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Also, make it go room to room. Like, don't put it way on the edge of the property. I want it to be functional. I want it to have a purpose. Yeah. It's to get
me to the kitchen. Yeah.
Get me to the kitchen. And also you could pee in it on your way to the kitchen. Like if you're watching TV, you can just get in, pee in it, get yourself a snack, get back in, go back to the TV room. You just have to have towels and robes everywhere.
And swim up bars in every room.
And swim up bars in every room, yeah. And
like one room is a tiki. Yeah. One room is a tiki swim up bar.
Yeah.
The other is like I don't know, a medieval time.
Oh, right, because you have to check that box if you're making a
yeah. If you are going with a theme, each room should have that theme.
Yeah, it's the required McMansion medieval times room. Yep. Check.
You could only drink red wine in the pool in that room, or mead
out of a goblet. Yeah, mead. Oh my god. And you can only drink it out of like some cowhide leather flask thing, like,
and it's only room temperature.
And it's room temperature. Yeah, it's a cask. Everything's casked. Oh my god. Okay. And you said about this house that you hated the like all the kitchen islands. But you know what?
It's insane. There's like the kitchen in this house. There's 5 kitchen islands and 7 sinks. What?
I know why. Because
they're hosting a cooking competition in that.
Yeah,
kitchen.
They do the Great Medieval Bake Off every weekend.
They cook with candles. No, that's like where they do their experimenting for the sense. Yeah.
Yeah. They cook by candlelight. It's very romantic. In the medieval times room. And the candles in there smell like hay. Oh, no, but I was going to say, okay, like as someone who lives and functions in a very small kitchen, that is, when you're a rich person, you can just turn around and have counter space everywhere. That's what that is. And I was like, I want that kitchen where everywhere I turned around, I could set something down. I could put a cutting board. I could put a bowl. And I never run out of counter space.
But then you're like, oh, fuck. I need that bowl of like dry ingredients. That's all over. That's all the way over on the other side. That's on the 4D fucking 4D. Kitchen island. I don't know.
Yeah, but then you just pop back in the lazy river and swing over and get it. You know.
Easy. Don't spill your dry ingredients in the lazy river while you're making cookies.
And then you get out and the kitchen floor's all wet. Fucking nightmare, dude. Maybe that's not a good idea.
I'm telling you, it's just over the top. But yeah. So anyway,
I love it.
Popping off about the Yankee Candle CEO's house. Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
That's in our Discord. Check that out. That's the business.
Yeah, that's the business. I know. It's the fun business.
Anything fucked up for you this week?
No, life just feels so heavy the last couple days. So like I'm just happy to be here and doing this because
I'm happy to be doing this with you.
Okay.
Always.
Me too. Yeah. Well, sometimes I come into it having had a better day. I feel like
that's okay. You're allowed to have shit ass weeks.
Totally. Oh my God. Yeah.
Like everybody's entitled to feeling like shit sucks. The big one.
Yeah.
So
what about you?
Okay.
Do you have anything fucked up?
Nope. Oh. I'm just getting through another week, so it's all good.
Sweating through another week.
Sweating to the oldies.
Oh my God. Okay. P.S. Maybe next month we watch the Where's Richard Simmons documentary.
The one that TMZ did.
Yeah, which is not that great, but I've been watching it and it's interesting. And also, I just am really I always loved Richard Simmons, but I'm having like a reignited flame. Yeah. And it's nice.
Yeah, because I remember there was that documentary like a couple of years ago about him.
And they're like a podcast and stuff.
Yeah. But it seemed kind of weird. Like it was kind of intrusive, and it was just like, eh.
Yeah, and TMZ fucking sucks, dude. But there's a lot of people that they interviewed in this. Anywho, Zers. Okay. Well, then I guess if we don't have fucked up stuff, I do want to say before we get into the topic today, we have 2 episodes that we've done that are like very adjacent to this and will set a very nice time, like a time frame and give you some context to like the moment we're talking about. Because we're not going to get much into like the pop culture of the time that we're talking about. But if you are curious about what was going on at the time in the music world, you can listen to 2 previous episodes. Episode 47, Requests and Dedications, and episode 50, Coach Hella, which if you haven't listened to are about Casey Kasem, which I saw you correct earlier because I put Dick Clark by accident, but it's Casey Kasem, and The Day the Music Died, respectively, which is like the song. It's a moment in time, and it's also like kind of a song, and there's a lot of information, but basically it's the 1950s and 1960s like music history for the most part. We are always very interested in music history. Like we love music. We were raised listening to very eclectic our parents have like great eclectic musical taste, so we just like have a deep appreciation for
music and the music industry. It's a very interesting thing to us. So we just we've done a couple episodes, like you said, on it, and today we're doing an episode specific to the 1960s. And it's specific to the music industry in general. But specifically during this time in the 60s, there was a huge scandal that happened, and it was centered around the practice of payola. So bribery. Payola is what we're talking about today. It's a term that has actually been recently popping up in pop culture. I think it's been in some hip hop songs. Like I know a couple of very famous artists have been accused of it by other famous artists. There's been kind of some shit talking about it.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about very specifically this moment in time in the 1960s where this was very much a big deal. And
when it originated.
When the terminology came about, and when I think when the general population became aware of this practice.
Yeah. Which it's the origin story, if you will. If Payola was a Marvel superhero, this would be its origin story prequel. But it's weird because it still exists, and we're gonna talk mostly about how it originated, but there's some lingering problems that we'll touch upon. But it's a word I never knew until the last couple weeks.
Oh, really?
I didn't know it originated as a radio thing. I always knew payola as a bribe situation where it's greasing a palm. And it is that.
It is.
But it originated as
the term
music.
Pay to play is literal in this context.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's where it originated. Pay to play. You got to pay to play.
Yeah, in this industry, it's a literal thing. So, payola, the straight up definition of payola in the music industry, because payola could mean different things. It could just mean bribery, whatever, as a slang word. But in the music industry, payola is actually an illegal thing. It's an illegal practice of paying a commercial radio station to play a song without the station disclosing the payment.
Yeah.
And under U.S. law, a radio station must disclose songs they were paid to play on the air as sponsored airtime. They have to say, this song is brought to you by whatever.
Right.
RCA or what. I don't know.
Right.
They have to tell the listeners we have been paid to play this song.
Yeah.
Which is feels distasteful. If you were to hear that on the radio, you'd be like, oh, what?
Why?
But what if it's a banger? I don't know.
I know if it's a banger, you're like, well, I guess pay to play it more. I don't know.
But it's also, it just seems like something that should be unspoken anyway. Anything in any industry, any marketing scheme at all. It just seems like marketing. So
yeah.
It's weird. So, but the number of times that a song is played can influence the perceived popularity of a song. Yeah. So if a radio station's just playing a song over and over again, it's oh, it must be the people that want to hear this song.
Yeah.
When in actuality, it's no, the DJ is getting paid to play it on the hour, every hour.
Yeah, it annoys everyone equally, but someone's getting paid, so we all have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Also, a big part of the time period and what was being played on the radio is what counted as Billboard charts and shit. And it all influences especially at this time, what was played on the radio influenced everything. It was such a big deal that it literally could make people's careers, and which is why labels want to pay people to play it. It's
Yeah, there was more like ability to control pop culture back in these days because, social media didn't exist. It was all like it was like everything in pop culture was funneled through very specific channels, and radio was probably one of the biggest, aside from television, one of the biggest places that people were getting their cues. So the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, treats payola as a violation of the sponsorship identification rules, which requires any broadcast of paid materials to include a disclosure. Like, that's just what came out of this whole scandal, is that this became a law. And so the actual word payola comes from a combination of, it's like a portmanteau kind of the word pay and the word ola, which is a suffix of a lot of products / brands during this time, like pianola, Victrola, Amberola, Crayola, Rockola, Shinola, and Motorola. That was like a suffix that was added on to the end of a lot of products and brands at this time.
What would be like today's equivalent?
Maybe like tech.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or that's good. Or like, how like in the 80s a lot of restaurants were named like Chez Louis, Chez or whatever, like
to be like to seem fancy in French.
Yeah.
No, like that's it. This is like a product of its time. So
yeah, it's like, oh, this is people are naming it this will seem legit or whatever. Like yeah, I mean, Payola didn't need any marketing, but
but it's like this is like they had to have a name for it, and it's kind of a fun name, and you're like, why is it like this? And that's why. Because it's a product of this time. So prior to the 1930s, though, there was not a lot of public scrutiny about the reasoning behind a song's popularity. Like, you would just go out to a dance or a function or whatever, and music would be playing, and you're like, yes, this is the popular song. You know what I mean? Like, nobody questioned it. And advertising agencies that sponsored, like, because a lot of music started to make its way onto like television and movies and stuff, but like it'd be like from in front of a live audience or whatever. And so NBC's radio / TV show Your Hit Parade refused to reveal the specific methods that were used to determine top hits. Like, they just controlled all of the playlist, basically. It's like somebody taking the aux cable and just plugging it into their car and only playing like Billy Joel or something.
No,
I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my literal nightmare.
Well, they refused to name them because the first way was cash, the second was check, the third was charge.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how they're determining all the songs.
Also booze and bras.
Also yeah. Also hot chicks, also cars, also fucking
maybe
steak
some
dinners.
Drugs later on.
Maybe some drugs.
Steak dinners. Yeah. And so they only offered like general, like, statements, like lots of vague reasoning of like, oh, this is the
it's
popular
a mixture
music
of things.
At this time. This is Americana. Like, this is what the people want to hear, and it's this is American music.
You wouldn't understand, actually. It's like a very smart, specific formula. It's very hard and difficult.
Honestly, that's what a lot of streaming services say now about like algorithms and whatnot. So we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so a lot of determining the top hits was based on, quote, readings of radio requests, sheet music sales, dance hall favorites, and jukebox tabulations. But all that shit was also dictated by, the record labels and whatnot. So it was just all very controlled, very tightly, very clenched butthole with this whole industry.
Yeah, very clenched, well-fed, well-dressed butthole.
Yeah, and nobody wanted to talk about it. No, it was like a known thing, but nobody wanted to talk about it because everybody's getting paid. And the practice of literally paying to play was just the unwritten law of the land. And this sounds very shitty. It is shitty, but it's been around forever. And when this practice was criminalized, when it was brought to the attention of the public, when it was thrust into the like court of law and the court of public opinion, the reasoning behind it, the shittiest part about it was rooted in a lot of racism and white supremacy. Big surprise. This is what the 1960s was all about. You know what it was? Rock and roll. This is what started it. Yeah. Everything was popping back then. Rock and roll were the hits. The teens wanted to hear that shit, but nobody was letting them play it. So these independent, smaller record labels were like, okay, we can't beat them. We got to join them. And that's kind of where Payola becomes, it's like, yes, you have to do this thing to have a song on the radio. You got to pay the DJs. And this is where it starts.
And like honestly, like the whole world works that way. Like, I mean, we live in a capitalist society. There's always someone who has money who's able to like sway things in a direction that they want it to go. But I think this has such a big impact on like music, like what you were talking about, where like the music at the time, there was like a lot of black artists that were being copycatted, and the white music labels were able to put money behind those artists, and then those start to be played more, and then those are the artists that get popular. You know, it's like that's how fucking white supremacy works. Like, oh well, we got to make sure the white kids who are singing these songs get a boost,
hear it
or whatever.
From yeah. And are getting it from other whites.
Yeah. Like, this is the music that we have to play on our station. And it's like, and okay, well, we'll pay you to play it. It's like, great, that's even better. It's just like so fucking sketchy.
Yeah. So this time in America, 50s and 60s, post World War II, the children of the people who fought in these wars, the boomers, are coming of age, and they're the teens, and they are creating this huge economy of cool. And the radio is where it's at. The radio DJs are the arbiters of cool during this time. They're the ones that are, you know, it's like a funnel of just stuff that's coming in, and they're putting it out to the kids. And
I mean, this happens every couple generations with technology. It's like how TikTok is what's influential to young people now, where all us olds, like, we're like, oh, what is this? Like, what's even cool? Like, my TikTok just has food stuff, you know, like, but teens are seeing like new music and new artists and like, you know, fashion and all this stuff. And that is just what happens. And at the time, like, radio was for young people what, like, you know, maybe for us social media became, you know, like MySpace, Facebook, whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, and to keep going with that, you know, that metaphor, it's like the DJs then were the original, they're the influencers. They were influencers.
Yeah.
The way we have influencers on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
Radio DJs were that for this era. They were telling the teens what's cool. This is the new shit. This is what you should be listening to. Yeah. And they were eating it up. This was like the main like source of what was pop culture at the time.
Yeah. And it makes sense too, because like at this time, radio, which was already popular, and like before TVs were in every household, radio was like what you gathered around, and it was like storytelling, it was drama, it was, you know, those like radio hours where it's like a soap opera and the whole family's gathered around. But as TV became more prominent and kind of that need was kind of met with TV, radio became a lot more free and open and young and cool, and like, and so music started to fill the time on radio versus like the radio dramas. And so radio started to focus on top 40 music, and The format was just like way cheaper. It allowed for stations across the US to like have these shows that were like manned by one person, like a radio DJ, you know, and not a full cast of like voice actors and writers and whatever, you know, like it wasn't as big a production. It was pretty straightforward. You have these top 40 songs, you just play those, you go home. And just for context, in 1950, there were approximately 250 DJs in the US. And by 1957, the number had grown to over 5,000.
Wow.
So like it was booming. And and radio and music just had such a big presence, you know?
Oh man, I cannot seem to drink enough coffee these days. But if I drink more than a couple cups of coffee, I feel jittery and I actually get like paranoid.
Oof. Yeah. I love a good coffee ritual, but too much coffee is too much. It's too much and it's bad.
It's such a conundrum because I love a coffee moment. But a thing that I've actually tried recently that helps with my caffeine intake is this little elixir called Magic Mind. It has ashwagandha, cordyceps mushrooms, and lion's mane mushrooms, which help my weirdo brain function better. I love mushrooms.
Mushrooms are the future.
They're the future. So what I do is I drink it along with my morning coffee, and it helps me get through my day without needing another 4 cups of coffee or a 3 p.m. disco nap.
Mushrooms are the present and the future, actually, and the past.
They're everything.
They're everything.
They're everything everywhere all at once.
I like Magic Mind because it tastes very good, but also it gives me a nice little buzz from the matcha and a mood boost from the adaptogens. And on top of that, it is an elixir, so I get to have a nice little Isabella Rossellini, Meryl Streep moment a la Death Becomes Her, and it is just like, oh, I want to be alone. You know, whatever that is from that. Anyway.
Yes, it's very that. So go to magicmind.co/DTFU and use the code DTFU20 at checkout for 20% off your one-time purchase or subscription.
Ooh, and speaking of subscriptions, if you sign up within the next 10 days, you'll get not 20, but 40% off your subscription. So you have to act fast. Did I recommend Magic Mind Elixir to Pete in place of his daily supplement of ashwagandha? I certainly did. Is he signing up for a subscription for 40% off using our DTFU code? You betcha. Is that even allowed? I really hope so because it's happening. It's happening.
Oh, man. Well, that's magicmind.co/DTFU. And be sure to use the code DTFU20 for 20% off your purchase.
Ooh, say goodbye to your disco naps. Say hello to excellence.
Say hello to mushrooms.
Say hello to mushrooms.
Say hello to magic.
Oh.
Magic Mind.
Yes.
Thank you, Magic Mind.
Oh, thank you.
The way that they were doing this, like the way these DJs were styling themselves and like programming the, you know, whatever hour they were on or whatever, you know, program they had, whatever airtime they had, they were like really cultivating their listenership. And they had so much clout with younger listeners that Time Magazine at the time called them, quote, poobahs of musical fashion and pillars of U.S. low and middlebrow culture. So whatever that means. Poobahs. But yeah, it's just like they were the influencers, period. And they were like
young, though.
They were young too. And they were, like you were saying, this whole pivot to television really freed up the space in radio to kind of make it this kind of more free place to just do whatever. Yeah. And to kind of re-envision what radio was. So because the radio and DJs had become so influential, they became sort of like gatekeepers in the music industry. Yeah. The like bigger music labels weren't paying very much attention to radio. They were like focus on the bigger and better, you know, technology of television. And they were like, you know, trying to figure out how to get their biggest acts like on television and, you know, pressing albums and stuff and press and not, you know, making the next record. They were not focusing. They weren't paying attention to what this new space of radio was doing. But then it started to get more and more influential, and when DJs suddenly became the ones making the decisions to play the hits of the day, they were suddenly being bombarded with record labels dropping new music on them constantly.
Yeah.
And they were just like completely flooded with like requests to buy the record labels to get to play this, play that. But like, how do you decide which songs to play first? Like, what is the single? There was no, they didn't really have that kind of streamline way of dropping music back then. It was just like, here's a new album, play the whole thing. And the disc jockeys, the DJs were like, no, I'm gonna only play one song because there's all these other songs I have to choose from that I'm being bombarded by. But how did they choose? Did they have an ear for talent and amazing taste in music? No. Fuck no. They were getting paid by the record labels. They were like, the like record label was like, here's $50, play this song, this song, this song. And we have a standing agreement for the month of, January through March. You play this song every other hour. Oh my God. Literally, that was how it was. And if you're saying that doesn't seem that sketchy, it really wasn't. It just is how, everything kind of works in the world. Yeah. If you have a product in the grocery store, you have to pay to get your product on the shelf. Like, that is how capitalism works, unfortunately. So this is and that was how it's been going for literal decades in the United States.
Have you ever watched that? I think it's the Dogfish Head Brewing Company. There's like a documentary on the beer, like on the beer space in terms of like consumerism and how, I mean, like there's like 3 companies that own many of the larger beers that are sold in store. And like
Anheuser-Busch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anheuser-Busch, InBev, the Constellation, which is like Pacifico and like some of those beers, Miller, Coors Miller, or
Coors
Miller
Miller.
Coors, which is
Miller
like
Coors,
the Anheuser-Busch like competitor in terms of like volume.
Yeah.
And they all take up, they pay to take up, so much of the fridge space and like it's the same thing. Like it's just, and that's just how it's worked. And that's just how it's always worked. And it's just so fucking toxic. It's so hard for smaller brands to come in and like make an impact,
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, okay, there's a flat rate almost like going on during this time to get your music played. Yeah. So if you pay that money, you can get played. And so all these independent record labels were like, okay, like if that's all we need to do to get our, in like our record played, this person who's extremely talented, this Black artist that like wrote these amazing songs. Yeah. Let's pay that money and get it on the radio. And they did. And they were able to get songs on the radio. And there were disc jockeys. There were DJs that were like totally like probably racist, but they're like, I like money more. So they were playing whatever. Yeah. And this was a full example of you can't beat him, so join him. And suddenly, though, once rock and roll started getting played more and more on the radio because of Payola, and more Black artists started becoming more prominent, and white teenagers started listening to Black artists and wanted to go see these artists in person, go to concerts,
dance halls.
Dance halls. Like that's when the old whites were like, whoa. Yeah. No, we don't like this. And so then attempts were made to link all Payola, all of it, to rock and roll music. That was the scapegoat, because the independent record companies and music publishers had to use this system to promote rock and roll on American radio. And so because the bigger industry people were like, no, we don't want this. We don't want black people. We don't want, rock and roll.
Yeah.
We're going to like say it's payola, and we need to like outlaw this. We need to go to Congress and talk about this. So they just decided, because it was becoming this like, more, it was becoming too woke. They decided we're going to fuck it up.
Yeah, it's like fucking like redlining music or something. It's like, wait, we need to change the way the game's played because we don't like that kids can't tell, like when they're listening to the radio if it's a black artist or not. And like that we just need to get them off the airwaves or whatever because our kids are being infiltrated by the devil's music and whatever. It's just like, oh my God.
This is the exact like mindset that was happening with like the older generation and the so at the time there was the ASCAP, the American Society of Composers, Authors and Publishers, ASCAP, who was very vocal in their opposition to payola, and used it as a means to like talk shit on their competitor, BMI, the Broadcast Music Incorporated. So at the time, ASCAP represented the old guard of mostly white composers, like, like very like old traditional
They were the conservative party, Tin
Pan Alley kind of vibes. And then BMI was associated with young, racially mixed writers of like R&B, rock and roll, and then the indie labels that were trying to get in, like Aladdin, King and Chess, those kind of
Chess records.
Yeah, exactly. And so by the mid 50s, the BMI single releases outnumbered ASCAPs. That's what I'm calling it. I don't know if that's right. But they outnumbered ASCAPs by almost 2-1. And the older organization did not like that. The old whites were like, no, BMI is doing payola. They do payola. Don't mind us. We've always done payola, but they're doing it too.
We did it first, but they're doing it better. So can someone come step in here? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so funny because ironically, television led to the downfall of radio payola. You were saying before, like television was like this new wave kind of technology, and it also opened the door for another scandal called I don't know what it was called, but in 1958 there was a quiz show scandal, basically, where it was like people were rigging quiz shows and making money from it. I don't know, dude, that's a whole other topic. That's crazy.
It's so weird how many of these regulations like still exist to this day. Like if you enter a sweepstakes or you know, like I don't know if people pay attention to that, but it's like, it's like no purchase necessary and stuff. And like there's always like our contestants were given room and meals or whatever, and it's like
they have to disclose
they disclosed all of that shit. It's so wild, and it's all because of this time period where everyone was just like panicking and trying to get a piece of the pie and willing to pay for it.
So this quiz show scandal was the kind of like excuse, I guess, that all these I think there were like big music industry lobbyists to make the argument to Congress to like shut down payola practices in the music industry. And really they were just going after the smaller independent labels who were just partaking in this very common practice that had been around since the turn of the century in the music industry. And the
independent labels were probably like not all white, you know what I mean? Like it's like how you said, like the old guard is like, oh, okay, like this label is like all the white artists, and it's like all the old school music that no one even cares about anymore. And then it's like, here comes this young, threatening, quotes, air quotes, label with all these kids on it that are like not white and like they're singing rock and roll and like what are we gonna do about this, you know?
Yep, exactly.
It's so wild.
Yeah, so that's basically the crux of this whole thing is they went to Congress, and in 1959 the first U.S. congressional hearing took place, and that's where everybody just came out of the woodwork, and they found that tens of thousands of dollars were being paid out to disc jockeys all over the country. Like everybody was like, oh yep, I like they didn't want to like get in trouble, so they just like totally snitched, or they just fessed up to the practice of it.
And I think too, you know, it was kind of one of those things where it's like they were all doing it, so like you don't think it's that bad, but like there was a prominent DJ at the time, Paul Lind of WAIT, Chicago.
Hey.
And it came out that he had received $22,000 over the course. Yeah, in 1959. That's like a whole second salary. Like that wasn't $50
for playing one record.
Yeah.
He got paid that much. He got paid that much money, which was a lot of fucking money back then.
Dude, it's like a whole second salary for one record. So like, imagine what else. Like imagine all the money he made from like taking bribes from all the other labels.
Yeah,
and like it you know, it came out so many DJs, like people's careers were ruined because of this, which doesn't seem very fair, but you know.
Yeah, like, there was a really prominent DJ who was he was considered one of the most famous DJs, the most influential DJ in America. His name is Alan
rock and
Freed.
Roll, right?
And of rock and roll, yeah.
Yeah.
Alan Freed was like, Alan Freed and Dick Clark were two of the most influential DJs of the time.
Yeah.
And they were called to testify in front of the congressional hearing about Payola. And Alan Freed, he was more of the like real, like authentic rock and roll guy. Yeah. He embodied that kind of like, you know, he was like the first punk, really.
He coined the term rock and roll, I think.
Yeah.
Like that he was pro rock and roll. He was there for the music, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he loved the music, and he also I don't know that he coined the phrase, but he called it that and made it broke it through into the mainstream as a term for the type of music.
Yeah.
He refused to play like the white covers of black people's songs, like Tutti Frutti, like that was a Little Richard song, and Pat Boone covered it, and he refused.
Ew.
Yeah.
Pat Boone?
Fucking Pat Boone. Yeah.
Oh,
he's like,
God.
He's like, no, fuck you. I'm not playing the white people version of Tutti Frutti. Also,
God.
do you guys even know what that song is about? It's about butt sex, okay?
Oh, it is?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love it more.
I know.
I love Little Richard so much.
And so, like, yeah, Alan Freed just, like, refused to be, like, cornered by this. Yeah. And he ended up taking the fall for it all. Like, he ended up being, like, a major scapegoat in this whole congressional hearing. Dick Clark had, when he went in front of the congressional hearing, he was, like, the fucking perfect angel. Like, he was like, I've heard of it. I've heard of Payola, but like I didn't take any money. And of course he did.
Of course he did.
But he had, you know, very conveniently gotten rid of all the like money he'd taken before. But Alan Freed was like kind of a badass. He like definitely was singled out because he was helping integrate the music industry in his way, where he was like playing black music, playing like he was like having like he did like concerts where black people and white people were integrated, and people just freaked the fuck out over this shit. So he took the fall for it. So
how convenient.
Yeah, and he died like 5 years after all these congressional hearings, probably because they like bled him dry. He ended up having to pay a ton of money and like fines and shit, and it was just really fucked up. So
It's so
but
wild.
Dick Clark got away scot-free, and he like had his own record label, so
and had a huge career until he died, and still his name is on our fucking New Year's Eve every year. It's like it's always like New Year's Eve is Dick Clark's fucking holiday. It's so weird.
Basically,
yeah, that's man, like, and there was people, I don't know like what time period, but it's a little bit after this time, I think, but like, you know, the whole record industry just kind of went with it, and it was, there wasn't a lot of people really speaking out about it, but like people like Lester Bangs and stuff, the music critic and writer, journalist, he was like really against it, because he's like, shouldn't music just be good or bad, and like, shouldn't we play music based on if it's good or if it's like, you know, like he hated this shit. But a few people were kind of like coming for it, but you know, it really took the FCC to come and like shut it down. So in order to mitigate all of this payola, the FCC at the time was like, DJs can't be in charge of the music that gets played at the station anymore. You need to have the program director do it. They can pick the music and they can program the station, and you know, the DJs can pick from that. But like, you know, we don't want the DJs making the choice, because they'll take bribes. Well, would you believe it? This just made it easier for Payola, because now, instead of dealing with the thousands and thousands of DJs across the US, the fucking record labels only had to pay the program directors, which were significantly fewer, and it was way easier to just bribe them. And then they were fucking playing those songs on the station as much as they wanted them to. It's like so insane that no one thought that through.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so this was a very clear example of that. Just these, you know, people in politics not understanding the full weight and the full, like, how deep all of this entire practice went in this industry.
Or like not even caring, you know? It's like they didn't even really care.
They just needed to make an example of this industry that they saw as like threatening to, you know, the youth of the nation at the time.
Yeah.
And wanted to highlight something. And I mean, how fucking quaint. But this is the shit that people were focused on at the time.
Well, okay, so obviously the FCC eventually figured out they fucked up with like not really fixing the problem, and everyone's still narking each other out like, oh, but this label's paying more than we are, and like, you need to put an end to this. And so they just stopped it fully. Stations cannot to this day take money from record labels for playing songs. However, record labels still had the problem at the time of needing to get new artists and their music, on the air, and radio stations still wanted to get some extra money. So they couldn't take money directly, but this is where like third parties came into play with
this is a huge loophole in the system.
This is a huge loophole where my least favorite position of all time, the radio station promoter, was introduced. It's if you came of age in the early 2000s, chances are you partied with some radio station promoters.
Yeah.
I sure did, and they were fucking gross. I don't even know if they still exist, but these were third parties. So they were able to kind of like be a go-between from, and somehow like this was a loophole. Like they were seeing what the record labels needed. They were going to the stations. They were like, oh, I can give you access to this artist. I can give you tickets. I can give you whatever, money for like maybe a sweepstakes or something, but like maybe you don't give it all away or whatever. And like, then I just need you to play this artist's like song or whatever.
They would have like contests. Yeah. And the only people to win were the DJs. Like,
yeah.
And it was like, and they'd win like prizes or tickets or whatever, like money prizes, and it was like, oh no, this all happened through the third party, so it's fine.
So it's fine, yeah.
It just all it did was like funnel through this third party, the promoter for the radio station. So then it was like all fine.
Yeah, because they were like freelancers. They were like contractors. They didn't actually work there, and so excuse me, none of the like radio stations felt like they had to like report it to the FCC. But eventually, cut to 1986 when the FCC only figured out this was going on because NBC Nightly News did an investigation, and they were like, oh yeah, like promoters, they're the new payola. And then the FCC was like, oh fuck, they got away with it again? Oh no, we didn't even notice.
They've been doing it for decades. Oh shit.
Oh shit, this is still going on. And so since then, record labels have paid out literal tens of millions of dollars in fines to the FCC for constantly finding new ways to bribe DJs or radio stations. Like, it is something that they just can't fucking get a hold on. And there's new ways invented fucking every time with every new form of like technology and, just fucking creativity. I don't know.
I mean, it's so hard. Like, we live in a capitalist society. Like, this is what happens. Like, how else are people supposed to find like new music? And it's like, well, I would steer you towards independent blogs and, places where you can listen to music. But, you guys already know that. So, but it's just like, how did you find this podcast? Probably through an algorithm on something like Spotify or Apple Music or iTunes or whatever.
I mean, maybe. I feel like it's like word of mouth, which is how music and popular culture gets spread most, like fucking algorithms. We know those can't even be reliable. It's like most of the people who listen to our podcast have probably heard it from a friend or heard it on another podcast because we have very nice friends who have mentioned us on other podcasts. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which isn't Payola because we did not pay them for that. No. I wish we had more money to pay people off to mention the podcast.
I would, I would pay people. I mean, give me the gold. I want the gold. Like, give it to me.
I mean, you could buy ads and stuff, but like people don't trust that as much. So then that's why that doesn't work.
That's the thing. It's like just with this new, in this new era where we have social media and we have these new streaming platforms, Payola has just taken another form. Yeah. And, it is just how it works. Like, I don't know what else to say.
I know, yeah. Well, I guess if anyone's curious about how it is working right now, so you can't blatantly bribe radio DJs anymore. But, like, honestly, why would you? No one really listens to regular terrestrial radio anymore. They do in some markets, like where there's a lot of driving. But people, for the most part, can listen to, like, podcasts and their own music and satellite radio and all that stuff, like, in their car now. So that's not a huge, like, place where people discover music. One of the platforms that you mentioned, Spotify, is a place where people can discover new music. And initially when Spotify started, they did a really good job with their algorithms. It's like Pandora did too when that originally came out, where you would listen to some stuff, it would take note, and then it would recommend you similar songs that you hadn't heard that they thought you might like. Very cool. Yeah. Well, I don't know how much they do that anymore because labels can pay for songs to be added to user playlists as sponsored songs. So, like, now labels can pay to be up in your mix. And, like, it's going to be a relevant song. They're not going to, like, pair you with, like, a fucking metal song if all you listen to is, like, bubblegum pop, But, like, labels can pay to put their artists in your playlist, which is wild. Okay, another one is, so Clear Channel, it does own radio stations. Clear Channel is like the number one owner of radio stations across the US, terrestrial radio stations, like old school. They bought up a ton of them. And iHeart is their digital solution to Clear Channel. So it's one company. So the Clear Channel iHeart On the Verge program was a program that was invented in like the mid 2000s, and it required stations to play a song that they would identify at least 150 times in order to give a new artist some exposure. So they would quote unquote identify an up and coming artist, and then they determined we need to play the song 150 times in order to give them a fair shot. But how the artist came to them and the songs that came to them, those were paid. Like that was labels coming to them being like, we want this artist to be in your On the Verge program. So that was fucking pay to play. And I just want everyone to know right now that Payola is responsible for the careers of Limp Bizkit and Iggy Azalea. The latter which benefited from Clear Channel's On the Verge program.
Fancy was the song that they had in that program.
Yeah.
That they determined, they were like, people will like this song.
Yeah.
And they were right, but you know.
Yeah, it was a bop and it was very fun. And the video had Clueless references and that was very fun. But like, should she have become as famous as she did? Probably not, because the rest of her music was not that good. And you could see too where that Limp Bizkit didn't benefit from that. They were way older. They realized that they weren't they realized
gonna do it for the nookie.
They realized they were, and they fucking gave that nookie, and then they became a huge smash success because they got their shit on radio stations and they paid for it. But this is where, you know, it becomes problematic, because it's where this is where indie bands, or I mean, let's not even say that they might not be as marketable, but like, what is as marketable as like a pretty white lady from Australia who does rap that's like quote unquote safe for your children to listen to or whatever, because she's a white lady. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as threatening, again, quotes. So let's put money behind her, and then her career takes off. And that's the problem with all of this. You know, where we are now is that we're not letting like music just speak for itself and letting, you know, people decide what they like and that become popular. Like, fucking record labels are telling us this is who we think is going to be trendy, so we're going to pay. And anyone who's not as privileged or like as pretty or whatever, as marketable as this person, good luck. Hope your music's good enough to get you somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. Unless you're like really scouring the indie blogs and like, you know, making a habit. Oh,
are you mucking a hobbit?
Are you making a habit of? You're making a habit of like finding new music and making a hobby is what I was gonna say. Making a hobby and having a habit of like going out and looking for new music, like on indie blogs, on, you know, on like SoundCloud, whatever.
Yeah.
This is not
or TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like TikTok is like they're just discovering music that we thought was cool.
That's fair. But then, you know, then there's songs like Willow Smith song or whatever. Like, the songs get popular, I feel like. I'm sure there's music TikTok that's like very, you know, there's probably like snobby music TikTok and metal music TikTok. I'm sure there's just like fucking so much shit.
Niche shit everywhere. But like, it's just like whenever you turn on the radio, whenever you like are in the main feed of whatever streaming service, like that's being spoon fed to you. So just be aware that
just be aware.
Payola is still happening. It's always happening. It's just taking on a different form. And I don't have the strong feelings about this. Like, I feel like the negative connotations around it are supposed to make me feel. And I don't know. It's like, this is capitalism. This is what happens. Like, I don't know.
I think there's something gross about it for me because it's like money influencing the arts or something. Like there's something frustrating about that to me because talent should speak for itself. But I also acknowledge we live in a world where that's not the case and people can buy fame or you know, like that's just like the world we live in. So I understand that it exists, and like that song that is played all the time that I find annoying and that somehow everyone finds annoying, but it's like always played, funded someone's medieval room in their fucking McMansion. You know what I mean? It's
That's right.
I get it.
Way to full circle it. Yeah, I think though, if you are that, like, you know, people don't have time to be looking for music all the time. Like they want to listen to what they want to listen to. This is why people like after a certain age don't want to listen to what the kids are listening to anymore because they had the time and energy to be into whatever music they were into in their youth. And then, you know, when they get older, it's like, I don't have time to like seek this out. I don't have time to be trendy. Like, you just whatever's like on. You just like what you like. So
I know. Yeah.
And I get that. But
I totally get that.
But I also love finding new music and like listening to new artists and like that discovery, that feeling of finding a song that you're like, I've never heard anything like this before. It's so cool. I don't know. Finding new genres of music you didn't know existed. Very fun.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I know.
Like Witch House or something. I don't know. So fun. It's real.
Well,
it's real.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It's pretty fascinating how like that incident in fucking 1959, 1960 and the uncovering that like the few years, I mean, you know, there was a decade when it was under the radar, right? Like the whole 50s, it was happening.
More than that. Like
more than that.
Like since the like late 1800s, like technically payola was happening.
Oh, right. But in radio and in music, it was like the decade was the 50s when it was like really big. And that influenced music today.
Yeah.
And that's wild. It's like a fucking butterfly effect that gave us Billy Joel. You know what I mean? Like, and great. It's like, great. Thank you.
Speaking of which, and We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yeah, he references.
You know, he references payola.
Yeah,
so
but he should be thanking payola because that's why he has a career. You know what I mean?
I know.
This isn't a Billy Joel slander podcast, but it's not a Billy Joel.
It can be
slander podcast.
Don't get it. I'm gonna tell you right now. I don't get it.
I will say I like there are a couple songs I enjoy. I actually really like them, and then the whole rest of it I go, oof, no, thank you.
It's a oof across the board for me. Oofs across the board.
Oofs across the board.
Oofs across the board.
I like yeah. There's a couple that I like, but and I
you
really
like Uptown Girl.
No, bitch, gross. Why would I like that song? Why? Speaking of the 1950s.
Well, then which fucking songs
This is what I was going to tell you, okay? I like, Don't Go Changing. I like that song. Just the Way You Are. Okay, I like that song. It's pretty good. And he has a nice voice in it. And I like Vienna Waits for You.
How's that one go?
It's like Vienna Waits. I don't know the whole thing. I would if I heard like the beginning of it, but it's good. It's a good one.
Okay.
Those are probably the only two Billy Joel songs I like, but let me confirm.
I mean, We Didn't Start the Fire is kind of a banger, but
no, fuck off. Get out of here. That's trash. I hate that song. It's so bad.
That's the one that I hate the most.
Piano Man, probably.
Only the good time. It's just the fucking corniest shit on the planet. I hate it. Fuck off, Billy Joel.
I know. I just don't get it. But whatever. All right.
It's like rock and roll for theater kids.
That's I was going to say everything's a fucking 14-minute story from start to finish. That's not how I like a song.
Like it's like when somebody thinks you want to fuck for like 2 hours. I don't want to get out of here.
Oh my God. He's like, also, okay, we didn't start the fire. Not a song. That's a fucking BuzzFeed list of events, okay? That's a BuzzFeed article. It's, oh my God.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
All right.
Well, that's it.
That's it.
That's all I got. Payola.
Yeah.
Still happening. It's just a different form.
Yeah.
And we're all living in America, so it's just what happens.
Living in America.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Yeah, hard to say.
I can't tell you. Well, you guys follow us on social media. It's at DTFU podcast all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Go to our website, dtfupodcast.com. You can go to so many different places from there, and you could also submit a listener story.
Yes,
and we will
that's what I was going to say.
Air.
Yeah, I was going to say, send us a listener story.
We love them. We just had some really good ones that you guys know. We had our last episode. Wow.
Do you hate Billy Joel? Tell us why. Or do you love Billy Joel? Tell us why. Fuck, marry, kill. Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Josh Groban. Go.
Oh,
go.
Lord. Kill Billy Joel. Fuck Bruce Springsteen. Marry Josh Groban.
Okay. That's probably good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, at any rate, stay excellent to yourselves.
And each other.
Bye-bye.
Bye.